Hello, beautiful people. Welcome once again to Nelly's TV. We are continuing with the part three of our conversation on what Africa should do urgently to break free from Western slavery. So, we've done the first and second parts, and if you have not watched them, please do well to watch them. Okay. So, we were trying to explain some of the things that are really going wrong in Africa which are actually a manipulation from the West on the political leaders of Africa, who unfortunately are elders who have refused to use their brains and senses to reason. Well, we also know their problem because a lot of them have already done things that are really unacceptable. And so the Western politicians are using them as a bait to hold them at ransom, to hold them at jugular. That's why Tinubu can do anything to please America because he has a very bad record in America. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do well to hit the subscribe button so we can continue to be encouraged to produce more of these incisive videos and produce these incisive videos to you. So let's continue. Now, I tried to mention some of the things that we need to do, and I want to quickly point out this one because it's very important. This next point is that you should stop being intimidated by these Western powers. And I'm saying this directly to African leaders because a lot of them are very intimidated. They feel so intimidated. Can you imagine that Paul Biya of Cameroon, who is above 90 years now, is being controlled by Emmanuel Macron of France, who is just 40 something years? Emmanuel Macron should be Paul Biya's grandson, grandchild. Okay, Paul Biya has ruled Cameroon for 43 years, while Emmanuel Macron is 48 years old. So you can imagine it. So, which means that Emmanuel Macron was still a small child when Paul Biya had started ruling Cameroon already. But today, it is Emmanuel Macron that is controlling and commanding Paul Biya on what to do in his country. That is intimidation. So you don't accept that. If they talk to you, talk to them. Tell them what you know. Tell them that you know something. Don't feel intimidated by whatever they present to you. That's the problem our African leaders have. But we know also that the problem is that they have done something wrong, which these white powers are capitalizing on to bring them under subjection. Now, I would also like to advise us Africans to begin to unite, begin to love our brothers wherever we see them, be it at home or outside the shores of Africa. Unite, love them, help them, render help to them so they don't go looking for help at the wrong places where people will begin to take advantage of them just because they are from a place they call a poor and undeveloped area. We are going to be continuing, and I will urge you to continue watching to the end so that you hear more things we need to do to break free from this. Because who knows, you might be the next leader of your country tomorrow, and as a youth, you are the future of Africa. So let's listen to this video. Pay very good attention.
If you wanted to stop Africa from becoming a superpower, you wouldn't have to invent a new strategy. The blueprint has already been written, tested, and perfected over centuries. You'd start by making sure Africa never unites.
Good. You heard that? You start by making sure Africa never unites. That is a very strong strategy. That's why they split Africa into countries, and then somebody in one country who has a cousin in the other country will tell you, no, that person is not from my country. But these are cousins. But just because of the imaginary boundaries they came and created for us, you now begin to see your cousin as a non-citizen of your own country. That is nonsense.
The easiest way to do that is by keeping people divided along ethnic, tribal, and religious lines.
Yeah.
If they ever start working together, remind them of past grievances.
Remind them of
Stoke
past
old wounds.
grievances.
fund separatist movements, keep borders.
You see, so when people try to say, no, I don't want to belong to this country or want to stay here due to our ethnic group, or let's be homogeneous, because what these guys did was just to bring people from wherever and merge them together and call them one name, like what happened in Nigeria, where Hausa, Yoruba, and Nigeria, people of different origins, different cultures, different religions, different beliefs, different psychology and ideology were brought together by Britain in one of the most horrible and mindless and senseless activities of Britain in Africa called amalgamation, and brought them together and said, from today on, you are called Nigeria. Nobody solicited for that. So that is the problem.
Disputes unresolved. Make sure every time they take one step forward, they take 2 steps back because they're too busy fighting each other.
Yeah. So now, if you go to Nigeria, they say Nigeria is one Nigeria, but they keep telling you, they keep going behind through the politicians to tell you that you are different. All right. And of course, we are different, but allow people to go their separate ways. They will tell you that you don't have to do that. Nigeria, the unity of Nigeria is unnegotiable. But you see, Yorubas always attacking Igbos. So why would that continue? So as people are busy attacking themselves, Fulani is there attacking everybody, different tribes attacking different tribes, there will be no development. And this is the kind of seed they like to continue to germinate in our midst.
You'd install leaders who serve foreign interests.
Then install leaders who serve foreign interests. Exactly what is going on, more especially in Nigeria, Cameroon, and most of these French colonized countries. Their leaders are always serving colonial interests. Look at Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire, where the leader is a very good ally to Michael Langley, the commander of AFRICOM, who is now championing the fight against African leaders who want to do good to their citizens. So the president of Cote d'Ivoire, Ouattara, became a very good friend to Michael Langley, the commander of AFRICOM. Why would that be? Why would that just be? What good has Langley brought to you in order to make you look at him as your best friend? And now working against your own brother, your own next door brother, Ibrahim Traore. That is what they do. And these politicians always fall sheep to them. They are always there to serve the interests of their colonial masters. That is their strategy.
Not their people.
Yeah.
Find the most corrupt, the most easily manipulated, the ones who crave wealth and status more than progress.
Good. So this is where the whole thing lies. Find the most corrupt, the most easily manipulated, and those who cherish personal wealth, who prefer personal wealth to public wealth. So people who are very greedy, very, very greedy, they are always interested in filling their pocket. And this is where I will be raising the next point. As an African youth or as a responsible African, shun greediness. Greed is one of the biggest problem Africa has today. The African leaders, most of them are so greedy that they don't care about what happens to their citizens. They liaise with these foreign powers and they strike a deal. Yes, we will harness your resources, we will sell them for you, and we give you so percentage, all for you alone. And they will begin to jump up and down. They don't even know how much these foreign companies sell the products at the international market. The only thing they are interested in is, at the end of the day, I have such an amount of money in my private account, not the country's account. This is evil. So greed, you should shun greed. This is one of the things that we must do urgently to come out of this. The day they see that you are not interested in acquiring personal wealth, they will begin to respect you. And this is why they respect Ibrahim Traore, to tell you the truth. So all these things they are doing, shouting about on the media, is just to see if they can cower him to begin to, play loyalty to them.
For them power in exchange for loyalty. If a leader rises who actually cares about Africa, get rid of them.
If a leader rises to take care of his people, get rid of them. That's what they did to all the leaders I mentioned in the first part of this conversation. All right. They have gotten rid of many of them, and now their focus is on Ibrahim Traore. But I bet you they won't succeed this time around, because I'm happy what I see in Africans. African youths are waking up from their slumber, and I encourage them to keep up with that.
Assassinate them if necessary. But if that's too messy, just destabilize their government and back a coup.
Destabilize their government and back a coup. So if you see any African country that carries out the coup and the Western media doesn't condemn it, it doesn't condemn the people who took over, then know that they are backing it. They backed it, and they want to destabilize the government of that country. But if you see any coup that happens and they begin to condemn it, usually what they do is go through African Union, or if it's in West Africa, they go through ECOWAS and begin to mount pressure on them to go back to democracy. If you see that, then know that that coup was not carried out by them and is not going to serve their interests. That's why they are shouting.
If they talk about nationalizing resources, make an example out of them. If they try to unite Africa, take them out before the idea spreads.
You see, that was what Muammar Gaddafi wanted to do. He wanted to unite Africa, and they said, hey, if we allow this guy, he will spread this message and everybody in Africa will catch it and we will lose. And that was why they eliminated Muammar Gaddafi. Till today, what did they say Muammar Gaddafi did? Unfortunately, they came up to apologize that they acted based on wrong intelligence. How can United States act based on wrong intelligence? United States has one of the best military intelligence outfits. They have FBI, they have CIA, and many others. But these are the two most paramount. How can they say that they acted based on wrong? Who gave them the intelligence that they acted upon? But before they acted upon it, they used media to spread every wrong thing against Muammar Gaddafi. And when they eliminated him, they came back recently to do a kind of how do I put it, deceitful, deceptive apology that they acted based on wrong intelligence. That is a lie. It is evil.
You'd keep Africa economically weak by making sure it never industrializes.
It never industrializes, okay? Anytime they want to industrialize, stop them.
Let them export raw materials, but never process them themselves.
Let them export only their raw materials. Nigeria is a typical example, always selling crude, no refined product.
Control the mines, the oil fields, the rare earth minerals. Keep them selling cheap and buying expensive. If a country tries to break free and build its own industries, sabotage it.
You see, so make them to sell their raw materials cheap, and then when they want to buy from you, from the Western world, they buy it very expensive.
Sanctions, destabilize its currency, fund local opposition, crack.
So if they try to break out of it and begin to place sanctions on them, just look for one flimsy excuse and place sanctions on them. That's it.
Crash its economy. If that doesn't work, orchestrate a civil war. People can't build when they're too busy trying to survive.
That's why you see in Sudan, they are fighting every time. They fight in Somalia because there are resources there that this Western world are interested in. So while they are fighting, they are busy harnessing or harvesting their natural resources. The same thing is happening in Democratic Republic of Congo. It has a lot of gold. So Congo must continue to have internal crisis, and that is the job of the Western powers.
You'd make sure their education system produces workers, not innovators.
What I told you earlier, we need to be innovators in our education systems. Okay, if you pass through the school, you should be able to use your brain to innovate something and not just to cram and pass exam. But what do? They teach you only how to cram and pass exam, and they tell you, get good grades, but they don't tell you acquire good knowledge, acquire good skills. They don't teach you that. They only tell you get good grades.
Teach them history that glorifies their oppressors.
History that glorifies their oppressors. Nigeria has no definite history. The only thing you hear from Nigeria is, and the white man came. That's the beginning of Nigeria's history. And the next thing they will tell you is to begin to glorify all the oppressors that once colonized Nigeria and made mess of them. That's why you hear some names called after the rulers that ruled Nigeria those days. But these were wicked people, wicked men. All right. That's why Port Harcourt is called Port Harcourt today, after the man Harcourt, who was the district officer.
Make them think their cultures are primitive.
Make them think that their cultures are primitive. They should imbibe Western culture. And that's why you see men perforate their ears, they draw tattoo on their skins, and do all sorts of nonsense in the name of Western culture. All right, and begin to practice all these, abnormal practices. You know them, you know, them. LGBT and co. They begin to spread it everywhere. Today, they have tried to impose LGBT on many African countries and tell them, no, it's globalization, it's normal. You should allow everything to happen. And now a country like Kenya has imbibed LGBT. If you don't, they will call you names, blackmail you, and sanction you.
Ancestors were savages. Their future depends on foreign approval. Train them to memorize, not to think critically.
Memorize.
Keep their best and brightest looking overseas for opportunities.
Yeah.
Make them dream of escaping Africa rather than fixing it.
So, how many of us know about Dr. Philip Emeagwali? Dr. Philip Emeagwali is the brain behind Microsoft Incorporated that has Windows and all the rest of them. Okay, the company owned and run by Bill Gates. Philip Emeagwali is a very strong brain behind it. But how many of you hear about Philip Emeagwali? You won't hear him. You won't hear about him. Why? Because he's from Africa. They don't want to promote him. Most of the innovations and inventions from Africa, nobody hears about them. They are buried. The only people that are glorified are those from the West.
Offer scholarships that take their top minds to the West and never encourage them to return. Let the continent keep training doctors and engineers only for them to go enrich other nations.
And that is why they are impoverishing African countries, so that when you graduate as a very high skilled graduate with very strong skills and experience, you won't be comfortable in the country because things are not working well. So the next thing is for you to look for a job out there, and you migrate, and they hold you there. That is a problem.
You'd control their narratives, own their media, control their stories.
Own the media, control the stories. That is where they have one of the strongest strengths, and I will show you one of them very soon, where they use the media to control narratives.
Dictate their image to the world. Make them believe they are corrupt, hopeless, eternally in crisis.
Now they call you corrupt, but who is corrupt in the real sense? They are even more corrupt than you are. All right? They are the ones teaching African leaders corruption. But what they do is that when they go back to their countries, they don't practice that corruption. They want you to corruptly lead your country because they know that wherever corruption is, development cannot thrive.
Flood their screens with poverty porn and war zones. Show them charity ads that make them believe they are helpless without foreign aid. Downplay their successes. Twist their victories.
When they succeed, play it down. Don't talk about it.
Into isolated incidents. If an African country develops a groundbreaking innovation, credit a foreign investor.
credit to a foreign investor. Okay? If an Africa achieves something, just like what I told you, Philippe Emeagwali produced the fastest computer so far, but you don't hear his name. You don't hear his name. The person you hear his name is Bill Gates. Let's continue.
If an African leader implements a successful policy, frame it as an anomaly rather than proof of competence.
Yeah. For instance, during the COVID, when some people, some African countries went traditional and began to use leaves, roots, fruits to boil and take care of COVID, they said it's an anomaly. No, you don't do that. That cannot cure COVID. COVID, coronavirus. And they said it was vaccine that is the only solution. But today, as we speak today, what is the cure for COVID? I have seen many people here where who have come down with COVID, and when they go to the hospital, the only thing they tell them, there is no drug. Go back home, quarantine yourself, and be taking hot drinks, be taking hot water, be taking hot tea. At the end of the day, it is hot liquid that is killing COVID. The same thing that many African countries were doing, and they called it primitive. This is their narrative, and it is evil. We should begin to be proud of our own. We should begin to be proud of anything we innovate and also patronize it. All right. The so called COVID vaccine they were spreading everywhere. There are reports, several reports, more especially from the US, that people are beginning to have some side effects as a result of them.
You'd make sure they remain dependent,
They
drown
remain
them in debt,
dependent,
offer
drown in
loans with
debt.
impossible conditions.
Yeah. Keep them in debt and give them loan with impossible conditions.
Force them to privatize everything so foreign corporations own their water, their electricity, their land. When they struggle, give them just enough aid to keep them alive.
And that's why you hear some foreign countries come to say, hey, we are sitting Nigeria with 2 point so million dollars or euros, and Africa will begin to jump up and down, or Nigeria will begin to jump up and down. And at the end of the day, where does the money end? In the pocket of the politicians. They are teaching them to be corrupt so that things will never work well.
But never enough to make them self-sufficient.
Mhm.
Use charities to create a culture of reliance rather than resilience. Make them think foreign intervention is necessary.
Every time, make them think that foreign intervention is necessary. Let them always be looking for help.
That they can't solve their own problems. That they always need help from the outside.
Yeah.
You'd suppress their military strength. Keep their armies weak, their defense industries non-existent. Sell them weapons to fight each other, but never let them develop high-tech military technology.
Good. If you try to produce your own weapons, they blackmail you and tag you one thing or the other. They may even call you a terrorist country because you are trying to manufacture your own weapons. But you must come and buy their weapons to fight. And they will create the fight for you and sell their weapons to you.
If a country tries to build a strong defense system, accuse them of being a threat to stability. Make sure they always need foreign peacekeepers, foreign military bases, foreign advisors controlling their security.
Yeah, and that's what we see in Africa. In Nigeria today, we have French soldiers. We also have British soldiers. They claim they are fighting terrorism, but terrorism is on the increase in Nigeria. So what are those guys doing there? We have AFRICOM in Africa. They say they are fighting terrorism, but terrorism is increasing in the Sahel region of Africa. So what is AFRICOM doing? We had reports that the French soldiers in some of these their colonies, they wouldn't allow the local soldiers to go after the terrorists, because they would always say, no, wait, we are here to help you. We tell you because we have the techniques. Don't go yet. We wait. They will keep waiting until before they go to fight the terrorists have left the place. So who gives the terrorists the information that they are planning to come after them? You see, this is what these guys do. And they always tell us that we need them. We need them in order to combat terrorism or insurgency or any kind of internal crisis. Learn not to depend on them. This is one of the issues, one of the things that Africa must do urgently. Stop depending on their help.
Keep them vulnerable to invasion, coups, and foreign interference. The formula is simple. Divide, corrupt, exploit, miseducate, control.
Good.
Keep them fighting each other. Keep them looking outside for solutions. Keep them poor, dependent, insecure. Make sure every attempt to break free is met with resistance so
anytime they want to break free from the clutches, resist them. In some cases, raise an internal person to fight them. That was what happened in Cote d'Ivoire when Laurent Gbagbo wanted to break out of the French clutches. They raised Ouattara to fight him. And nobody knew that this guy was acting under the influence of France. People followed him because they saw one or two blackmails that France flashed on the news media, and everybody followed him and began to fight Laurent Gbagbo. Okay, but when Ouattara entered there, he quickly turned into a French stooge. That was when people knew that the hand of France was involved in the crisis that saw Laurent Gbagbo out of office. That's what they do.
strong that the next generation thinks twice before trying again.
Yeah.
This isn't a theory. It's history. The real question isn't how to stop Africa from becoming a superpower. It's how Africa can break the cycle, despite every effort to keep it down.
Okay. So now, what do we do to break out of this? Everything that this person said here, we should do the opposite. All right. She said that they try to keep Africa dependent. So we should learn to be independent and stop depending on their aid. It is greed that makes our politicians to depend on their aid. Their aid is not enough for us. They are just there to keep us fairly existing and never to break through. All right. So, as an individual, you have to learn to develop yourself mentally, develop skills that you can use to prove that you know you have something to offer. It's another very strong point. And like I have said earlier, shun greed. Stop being greedy. Stop looking for money anyhow. All right. Take it easy the way you look for money, because this is where they trap most African leaders. I am going to show us this and then we call it a day. Look at this news. When they say they control the narrative using their media, look at it. This news is from BBC. Look at it up here. BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation. It is one of the evil media outlets of the West. Now look at it. The caption says Burkina Faso military accused of killing over 100 civilians in massacre. How did they get this information? They say they got it from, look at it, Human Rights Watch. They got it from Human Rights Watch. They never verified this news, but they just went ahead and published it. And at the end of the day, they said that it was from Human Rights Watch, that they themselves, they don't give, look at it. It says, the BBC has not been able to confirm these reports, and the authorities do not routinely comment on reported jihadist attacks. So why did you report news that you didn't confirm? Why? This is their job. Control the narrative using your media. They said at least 130 civilians were unalived by Burkina Faso government forces and allied militia in March near the western town of Solenzo, Human Rights Watch HRW says in a new report. So this is how they control the narrative using their media outlets. And we must stop believing them. Stop believing these evil and demonic media outlets. There are many of them out there. Stop believing them. They only, shaping the narrative in a way as to blackmail you as an African or as an African country or as an African leader, and then promote whatever they want that will be of benefit to themselves. Now they are talking about people who were unalived, but they don't talk about how these criminal terrorists have been terrorizing the country until the country decided to take it upon herself to go after them. So are they trying to tell us that if a terrorist organization is terrorizing a country, the country should just fold its arms and continue to watch them? Is that what they do in their own countries? They won't do that. They will go after them. America had to go as far as Afghanistan to look for Osama bin Laden. Is Afghanistan a country, a state in Africa, in America? But they went that far because they saw that this guy was carrying out terrorism. And Burkina Faso decided to go again after a terrorist organization that has been disturbing them for some time, and look at the rubbish that BBC is publishing. That is arrant nonsense, and we can't take it anymore. So you have to begin to know what news to believe and what news to throw away. News coming from sources like BBC, CNN, and the rest of them who are always lying, don't believe them. There are many of them. Okay. So, in summary, what we are trying to say is everything that this person said in this video we just watched, please do the opposite. Do the opposite. And those are the things that we need to do urgently in order to come out of this extension of slavery that Africa has found itself in as a result of the bad and corrupt and greedy leaders leading the countries in Africa. Do the opposite of these things that these people have said. If they say they don't want you to produce your own products, produce your product. They want you to believe their media, begin to disbelieve their media. They want you to accept everything they tell you as a standard, begin to question what they tell you. All right? You have the brain to do that. So thank you very much for watching so far. And I want to enjoin you once again to please coming back to check more news and analysis. And if you've not subscribed, please try and do so. And thank you very much for watching once again. And bye.